What is technology? So, science versus technology. So, these are often used interchangeably, but they're not the same thing. So, science is an exploration process used to gain new knowledge. So, the main purpose of science is to gain new knowledge, to learn new things. It's often done for the sake of just learning new information. It may also be done to solve a specific problem. We call that applied science. Um, but there may or may not be a plan on how to use that information once you have it. Once you gain this new knowledge, there doesn't have to be a plan for what to do with it. You can just learn something just for the sake of knowing that it exists or that something works a certain way or whatever. Now, technology is the application of scientific knowledge to benefit people. So here you're usually making products or something like that. You're doing something with that knowledge to help benefit people. Now, some examples of technology. So, any human made object is an example of technology. So, radios, computers, even something as simple as a pencil or an ink pen, paper, that sort of thing. Those are also examples of technology. Methods or techniques for making any object or tool. So, like glass making, steel making, etc. Knowledge or skills needed to operate a human made object. So, a pilot, piloting an aircraft, or a welder. Um, a system of people or objects used to do a particular task. The internet is one example. Also, something like the airline industry. Okay, so airlines, the airline industry is also an example. So, some examples of disruptive technology. Now, disruptive technology is when you have a new technology developed that actually replaces something else. So, we think about like USB drives. Well, they replaced floppy disks. And then actually, floppy disks replaced punch cards. It used to be like old um, paper cards that we used to put, actually, I didn't use, but other people used to put data on. You actually punched holes in it for the ones and zeros. We can actually add what's replaced USB drives is cloud computing. So having things on OneDrive or Google Drive or something like that, as opposed to carrying around a USB drive. Pagers were replaced by cell phones, which are then replaced by smartphones. Mail and like office memos and stuff like that were replaced by email. So these are examples of some things that just pretty much disappeared because you had new technology come in and replaced the old technology. Like home phones, for example. Well, home phones, most people don't have a landline and a home phone anymore, they just have a cell phone. So, technological objects. So, the value of objects changes through time. Usually, they start off, they're new, they're more expensive, that sort of thing, because it's the latest, greatest thing. Over time, though, they become antiques. So, new technology today will be an antique in the future. So, after a while, the price comes down. Usually, they get to the point that they're not worth much of anything unless people start collecting them, and then maybe the value goes back up. But the value of most technology changes over time and it diminishes. So, like quill pens, for example, became ballpoint pens. An abacus, like up here, was replaced by a calculator, and now we have calculators on our phones that we carry around with us everywhere. Telegraphs were replaced by telephones, which then became cell phones, and now there are smartphones, and there are, video calls and stuff like that that we have now. So, again, this is new technology replacing older technology. Technological methods or techniques. So, books were originally copied by hand, made them very expensive. If you wanted a book or a copy of a book, you had to find somebody that would sit down and copy the book word for word by hand. Now, books can be written on a computer, copies can be printed as needed. They can be bound with common office machines, or if you're producing a whole bunch of one book, you can send it to a printer and they can actually run it through a printing press and print like thousands of pages per second or per day or whatever. Um, Put together a lot of books very quickly. Technological knowledge or skills. So, for the book example, computer skills are needed to use the software for making books and other documents. You'd also have to know how to use the office equipment to um, print and bind these books. Printing press operators use their skills to print books successfully. So you have to know how to use the printing press, how to set everything up, how to keep it running. Technological skills are required to operate any complex machine to perform a task. So you have to know how to operate the machinery to make it work. Technological systems. So a network of people or objects that work together to perform a task. So the internet is a collection of computers and software used to exchange information. So anybody that's involved with working on the computers, working on the software for this, those are all the people involved in this, all the hardware that's involved, all the software that's involved. That's all part of the system. The airline industry is another example. This is a collection of objects, methods, systems, knowledge, and procedures um, that make the airline industry work. So things like airports, just having the infrastructure, having the actual airports, so the pilots to fly the planes, the fuel for the planes, making the fuel for the planes, the mechanics that fix the planes and refuel the planes, the ticketing system, etc. All of these form a system used to move people and goods around the world.